How's it going, my dudes? This is Co-Oz Legion Coyote speaking, and welcome to part 4 of 9 videos showing you the differences between the Amiga and NES version of Bart versus the Space Mutants. Here, as you can tell, the Amiga version actually has a cool little cutscene to show you how, or what's happening. Also, the Wikipedia says that the game was released somewhere in 1991, but it doesn't say when. So just keep the whole EU September 1991, just more of a, this is when it came out. So we'll see what Bart has to say, and I'll continue on from there.
Wow, man.
Aliens show up. What does Bart need in order to stop the blinding light from hitting his face? Let's find out. I also like how the aliens all look like adult versions of Bart. What? The X-ray sunglasses. I don't know why Bart just so happens to have X-ray sunglasses, but let's just go with it for now.
I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?
What? He said the word hell. So I will start out with, again, intro cutscene. Looks pretty badass. And the game does have load, so it says, please insert disc 2 and press fire. It also says to press insert disc 1 and press fire. So for this case, I'm just gonna remove those loading screens entirely. But just know that the game does have loads. The color of basically some of the Simpsons are different, but when it comes to the TV, it's pretty much all the same. It even has the exact same spray of the aliens coming out from the side, which is pretty cool, except for the aliens that show you what you're supposed to be collecting in the levels. Those guys are far different. Their backs are facing you, and they're just like whispering to each other, I guess you can say. It seems that every single level starts with 9.99 timer, so keep an eye out on that. And life number 1 in your UI is your final life, so just make sure that when you have a 1 in your life, that is your final life. You might want to watch out. So the horses, purple objects going inside of the machine. Pretty cool, pretty cool. It actually looks like normal. It doesn't come out from the other side. And here we go. So the 4 p.m. and the 2 p.m. kid does come out. So you have to wait quite a long time to see the kid. And when you spray the kid, he actually turns green and doesn't run away from you. You can use the payphone. It says the exact same thing as it would in the NES. But I'm just going to show you here. But yeah, if I don't show anything, just assume that's already, it already has what the NES has to offer. So instead of showing you every single thing, I'm only showing you the differences, just in case I ended up forgetting to mention that. When you're done with the phone, Mo is actually the one that appears instead of a random customer. You do instantly stop, kind of, like you still slide just a little before you stop, but as soon as you slide just a little, knowing how far you're actually going to go, Bart just instantly stops. And as you can tell, I'm skipping every single purple object. You'll soon find out why, but just know that there is a reason for it. So when you pick up the whistle and the magnet, obviously you use the magnet in the circus. The magnet does not, when you use it, it does not make a dog appear. And when you hit the bird from the Jebediah head, there is no cutscene, so you can just continuously move on like no one's business. When you jump up towards this skateboard, there is no coin that appears, and if you're holding the spray button while on the skateboard, you actually won't be able to jump, so you're gonna have to let go of that button. And Bart just has unlimited speed regardless if he's on the skateboard or not, and the bully looks very different from the NES. So I mentioned the spray because you can actually run, and I think also you can jump while holding the spray button, but while on the skateboard you actually can't. The Quickie Mart upcoming right here, the E does actually pop out a 1-up, but it does not give you the sound test, which I found extremely interesting. Boosh. Try again, Bart. Boosh. As you can tell, he's also wearing all blue. Like, at least his t-shirt's supposed to be red, but please, it's all blue. Come on. There are 3 missing mutants right there on the very first purple drape, and when you use the key on the retirement home, you actually appear on the right building, right by Moe's Tavern, instead of at Moe's Tavern. So when you use the whistle on the very end of this building, they ended up moving Grandpa. He actually appears at the bottom window instead of the top, but otherwise he still reacts the exact same way. And your timer, when it hits 200, it actually starts to blink, which is pretty interesting. And here is the reason why you don't pick up any of the goals, because as you can tell, there is an invisible wall right there, as I'm showing you. But if you jump and press left, your momentum will actually push you through the invisible wall, and you can continue going through, which is pretty cool. So when it comes to the boss, you can actually damage him before he even shows up. So obviously, as soon as you go through the boss, if you continuously shoot the hit button, he'll instantly die. And as you can tell by the hats, they go invisible before they even hit the bottom, unlike the horses, which is pretty funny. But yeah, this game has one giant glitch, and that's the fact that you can beat the entire game except for the last level without picking up any of the goals. So you can actually just run through this entire thing without doing anything, and you'll be able to win. The one interesting thing I like about the enemies in this level is the male enemies have black hair and have black hats, and because of how well the hat blends with the hair, it kind of reminds me of Elvis hair. I'm not really sure why, it's funny. So when you use this platform, you jump on it 3 times, it actually goes all the way up and moves straight to the right instead of zigzagging. If you also paid attention to the lollipops, they move rather fast. So if I were you and you were playing this game, I would just take that moving platform instead of trying to use the lollipops, just because of how, in this case, difficult it would be to control Bart during those lollipops. And if you paid attention to that mini boss, he actually looks like a dentist to me. When you use this escalator, if you go a little bit halfway, you actually can't turn right anymore. And if you try going into the escalator after you arrived at the top, you actually can't go back. There is no bonus hat room, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Those first two trash cans there actually contain a coin, but this last trash can here contains no coin. So that's different from the NES. Not really sure what's going on with that picture, but moving on. The boots don't stun lock or move the screen, which is nice. And in this trash can right here, there's actually two hats hidden inside of it. So even though you don't get a bonus hat room like you would in the NES, there's still hats in a trash can, so I guess that's the same. And this boss, nothing different. I just like how he looks. Like, they oversized his shoe by a long shot. Still have to hit him 3 times. Whee! Now we go up. The trash can in this little section here, they moved it over to the right by the big pole instead of to the left. And here comes the box enemies. They added one extra half enemy there instead of the entire thing. Here you can see how fast Bart moves when there's nothing in front of him. He just moves so quickly, it's ridiculous. So when it comes to this wand section, obviously there's a lot more wands that there are in the NES. And there is a Jebediah head, and the Jebediah head gives you invisibility, but there are no rings, so there's really no point for the Jebediah head. And there is no 1-up located in that trash can, which is a huge bummer. There is a coin in it, but no 1-up. And here I'll demonstrate the glitch once again. There's the invisible wall. Can't go through it because you don't have 0 goals, but if you jump, press left, Bart's momentum will continue going through right, and you'll just pop right through. Not really sure why. I actually accidentally found it while speedrunning it once. Marge is wearing a red dress instead of blue, and this boss, she still takes 5 hits, but if you happen to die during this boss and only this boss, you only have to do the remaining hits. So in this case, I deal 4 damage and then die, and then reappear, and then I hit her 1 more time and then down she goes, which is pretty interesting. Not sure why it only works with this boss, but it does, so why should anyone complain? So moving on to the circus. The one major difference here is goals. Like, NES has 40 goals, and Amiga has 32. It doesn't really matter because of the glitch, but, you know, just nice to mention. You can play all of the mini games, and you don't even need a coin to play the mini games. And if you wanted to play the balloon minigame, it actually counts towards your goals. So for whatever reason you didn't know about the glitch, the balloon minigame does count towards your goals, but only the blue one. So in order to farm balloons, because you actually won't have enough by the time you reach the end, you want to hit 2 blue ones and then a red one. That way you can play the minigame again, because once you win, you can no longer play the minigame. Obviously, here you can still use the magnet. You use the magnet on the roulette table, and whatever number you choose, that's where it'll land. Winner! You win! So there is no invisible platform underneath the 1-ups like you would see in the NES, which is, I guess you could say, weird. Not really. It's just, I guess you can say weird, because it doesn't make sense as to why they're there to begin with. I guess the NES one, you just couldn't reach that high. And when you play this shooting minigame, you actually can't move. Unlike the NES, where you can actually just run away from the minigame, and you can actually move the cross all over, since you still have to wait for the 30-second timer to run out, unlike NES where you have 20 shots and you can just run out of 20 shots and the game ends. Here you have unlimited shots, and obviously you need to hit the 100 in order to get anything out of it. So if we move on, alien heads still look the same. Gotta make sure I get that Lisa. Pick up the balloon. Dude goes right. You cannot go up the ladder. It's a huge bummer at the fact that the game looks so good, but yet you can't, it doesn't have the extra rooms, I guess you can say, because in this case, you can't scroll up. When you do this mini game, when you win, you get 9 balloons instead of 4. But you can also do the alternative, which is let me send you back. You don't even need to do the door mini game. You can just run right and off you go. There is a 1-up, as you can tell right here on the right side, that there is still a 1-up inside of Krusty's mouth. Because of how fast Bart goes, he can actually reach his mouth without having to go all the way up. And the thing is there is no hidden door inside of his mouth, so if you were to go there, you just continue going right versus anywhere else. And here, while testing, I actually ended up dying outside of the tent. So what's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to reappear outside of the tent, but for some reason it appears me in the inside, and there you can tell the difference between outside and inside of the tent. And then it just places an invisible wall once you go past it, which is pretty interesting. The Ferris wheel does not move, so even though it's on a computer and it looks this good, but it can't make a Ferris wheel move. The 1-up is still located inside of the mini Krusty's mouth. Or you can go up here on top of the top half of Krusty's head, kill yourself, and you'll actually end up wrong warping to the final tent. So you actually end up skipping like huge chunk of the level by wrong warping. Not really sure why that wrong warp works, but it does. Obviously the invisible wall, you just jump, turn left, Bart continues going right, and you just go right through the invisible wall. As you can tell, it has 8 goals instead of 0. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to enter the boss whatsoever. And there are no stars when the bowling ball hits the boss's head in the Amiga. Not really sure what the bowling balls are supposed to do. They're supposed to stun them, but they don't really stun them, I guess. I don't know. I guess I might have just killed them a little bit too quickly. So, 4th level. Here we go. Again, the exit signs just dissolve like halfway into the machine. Here Here we go into the museum. Looks pretty much the same, and there isn't really much difference besides minor things. I will say that the lasers do react sometimes rather weird, so pay attention to those when you're playing. You might want to move a little bit slower than you would want to originally, and then because of how fast Bart goes, better watch out with that speed. Here, the quicksand, for whatever reason, it looks like nacho cheese to me, so watch out with the nacho cheese. If you use the X-ray specs, you can actually see where the gators are going to come out. There are only 3 gators here instead of 4, and the things that come up from the sky actually look like rocks in this version, versus the NES that it looks like bird poop or maybe even monkey poop, because I have no idea what it looks like. Maybe they're throwing eggs, I have no clue, but... And when you want to kill the monkey, you actually only need to hit him once. And down he goes. Kill the monkey. There you go. Watch out with that nacho cheese. So even though it is, this version, the Amiga version is very fast, it's not that hard to control Bart once you get a little bit of used to it. And the sprite for those spiders look horrible in my case. They look so ugly. The boss, you can actually go to the boss, the mini boss should I say, before the plant boss starts attacking. So if you just run straight and underneath their mouth, they won't be able to damage you. There's supposed to be a 1-up located in this glass case here by the gun, but there isn't. And even though this is the very hardest level that this game has to offer, it kind of sucks that they missed it completely, but now we're on the jumping platforms and watch the sync of both games, which is pretty cool. But because of how fast Bart can actually go, he can skip this platform right here, so instead of waiting for more to come out, you can just jump out. No green hands come out from these holes. So that seems so far to be the NES is the only version that has hands coming out. So basically the hands grab you from the sky if you're too slow and pull you down. When it comes to the Egyptian section, when it comes to the Ankhs, you actually need to pick up 7 of them instead of 6. But if you pay close attention to the spiders, whenever they come down, they actually turn right, and only right, as in they don't change any directions. And when you finish collecting all 7 Ankhs, there is no dust that comes from the sky, which is nice. It also no stun, so you know, you just stand in place and make sure those damn spiders don't hit you. But the downside is the fact that spiders still continuously come down even after you're done with that section. There's also only 1 cat. So if you pay close attention to here on the boss, mini boss, when you die, the camera's actually gonna snap back. I want to say it's probably because of the boss room itself that it makes the camera snap back, but I found that a little bit odd. So here I'm gonna die. Here you can tell everything's pretty normal, but as soon as I move, poof, it snaps. It's like, okay, it's pretty interesting. Might as well put it in the video. So here, nothing in front of Bart. You can see how quickly he can move through rooms. So if you pay attention to the lava, see, multicolor, not moving, get close, it starts moving, or it's, instead of being multicolor, it can just be red and it also not moving. And instead of waiting for the platform to come down, you can just jump right over. Yeah. So there's supposed to be a skull platform right here, but there isn't. So it's a good thing that Bart can reach over there, right? Because I can't imagine someone releasing a game where you can't actually beat because, you know, possibly not testing. Yeah, there was also no dust in that volcano section either, so they just avoided that entirely. So in this Dino Boss, if you jump on top of its head without actually hitting him, you can just do all 3 damage without ever having to be thrown back to the left and off of the boss, which is pretty nice. I even highlighted the hitbox for you. So here, 5 goals in my UI, invisible wall. Screw that, I just want to go fight the boss. Yeah. So the funny thing is about this fight is not the boss, but Homer. Like, he throws black towels, no idea why. Also, you look at his name, it looks like they put a G instead of an E. So finally reaching the final level, nuclear plant. Here you'll see the map. Maggie can only appear on door 4 on the left side, so all the way to the top to the left side. And Marge actually appears on every single floor, and if you pay attention to these mutants right here, there's supposed to be 2 of them. So I'm not really sure why they ended up skipping out on 1, but actually, I'm assuming he gets despawned because of Marge. But I mean, there he is. So the code doors are actually all the same as the NES, so you can go up to this panel, type in 14, and go through like normal. Or you can go back and pop right through, kind of like an invisible wall. You can just pop right through the hitbox and don't even have to stop to put in the time. So the code, so that's always cool, right? You just bypass the code entirely. So other than that, all of the levels are actually the same. This one's no different. There is a 1-up that you can't pick up, which I'll mention as soon as it happens, but you know, you just run around, pick up power rods, do the final hand in, and wait for the very end to happen. So here you'll see Maggie on the 4th floor, which is the same one as it happened to be on the NES, which is nice. So when it comes to just general terms, the difficultiness of this game isn't all that hard, and the reason why it isn't all that bad is probably because you don't need to stop and pick up any of the goals whatsoever besides the final level again. You can just go from the start all the way to the end, not picking up anything other than 1-ups because you obviously need those, and beat the game. So I accidentally again found the going through the invisible walls by pure accident while speedrunning, and this is the 1-up that you can't pick up. The fire hydrants, or the fire extinguisher, sorry, you're supposed to be able to stand on it in order to get the 1-up, but you actually can't pick up the 1-up, and this is the only 1-up that you can't get. But, I mean, this level isn't all that hard, so you just pick up the donuts and pretty much avoid all hitboxes and whatnot. But yeah, the game isn't all that hard. Once you get a little bit used to of how fast Bart moves, it's not that bad. Because of the instant stop, you know how far you can go and do something before you go off and like jump into your death. So the instant stop is always nice, even though it does slide you just a little. It's not that bad again once you get used to it. I want to say that the only reason this game is longer than the NES one, because when I did speedruns of this game, it was a little bit over 25 minutes versus the NES that is under 16 minutes, probably by pure luck, to be honest. I want to say, even though it is faster, it does play faster, you still have the loading screens. The cutscenes are most likely a lot slower. And just in general terms, probably the Amiga version is either longer levels or just in general needs to load more, so most likely lag somewhere. Not really sure, but it is one of my favorite versions. So then again, when it comes to Bart versus the Space Mutants, it seems to me like there's a lot of my favorite versions. It's just the fact that you know, they're all different. That's hence why I'm making these videos. Like, they're all different. They're all pretty amazing. The only difference is, even though I do say they're all different, the next two versions that I'm going to be highlighting, they're not going to be all that different. For instance, I still have the Atari ST and the MS-DOS versions of Bart vs. the Space Mutants. You can pretty much see that they're clones of the Amiga version, and the reason why I say they're clones of the Amiga version is because the Atari ST actually moves at half speed that this version runs, so that the Amiga version runs, and the MS-DOS moves half speed the Atari ST one is, so Amiga one is by far the fastest, the Atari is somewhere in the middle, and the MS-DOS, like, it just so happens to me that it feels like lag the entire way through, that the entire game moves even slower, which is pretty crazy. So if I were to suggest any versions whatsoever, I would probably suggest Amiga and then go to the other two, because you'll be like, oh my gosh, these are just far easier. Or if you're just having so much trouble on controlling Bart, you can start from the bottom tier and then go up, because it'll just be like, oh, okay, now I just need to get used to a little bit more speed. But by that point, I hope you'll be able to control Bart as to when you should be turning and stopping and whatnot, because they all, again, act pretty much the same. You have the instant stop with the minor slides. Everything looks exactly the same. Everything reacts exactly the same. I'll still be making videos of them, and I will be pointing out the minor differences that one might have with the other. I'm not actually going to be pointing out every difference, because I don't really see the point on pointing out, whoa, this one has a coin in this trash can that the Amiga one also had, if the Amiga one already has everything except for, oh, maybe there's missing enemies here, maybe you're using up coins in the circus and whatnot. So I'll be pointing out all of those differences a lot better when I actually get to them, but as of right now, just know that both Atari ST and MS-DOS are pretty much dead clones of this Amiga version, and it's like, well, I mean, they are all ports, right? So it's not like anyone should be mad, especially since they came out in so many different versions to begin with. But as you can tell, gameplay style, everything is just the same. You just run around collecting power rods and give them to Marge in this case, because Marge appears 100% of the time. There is the last 1-up that you can pick up. Boosh, picked up. We're running around some more. Overall, this one's my favorite just because it looks really nice. I guess you can say it would be like the HD remastered, whatever the heck people's words they can add to games from nowadays to back then. Like for instance, if this game was released for the SNES, you can see the difference between the NES and the SNES kind of thing. Obviously, they never released this for the Super Nintendo, but I mean, it just looks nice, it plays nice, it's super fast. The only thing I wish I didn't have was the loads, but you know, can't really get everything. And there, if you mess up the jumping through the door, it'll just get you stuck inside the door itself. So you just have to, you know, turn right and then try again. Otherwise, everything's exactly the same, and you get the instant pickup and instant goal entry into your goals, I guess you can say. Like for instance, the NES, you give them to Marge, and then Marge does a mini cutscene handing in the power rods, but in this case, she just instantly does it for you. So you go to door 4, get Maggie, and for whatever reason, Lisa over there on the right talks to you from across the wall, even though she's not supposed to do the final hand-in, and we'll see what kind of ending we get. So finally, go through the last door, go into the basement. So even though your goal says 0, you still need to go to the basement to actually get the cutscene to appear. There's your entire family. Looks like Homer has his donut box there. So even though the NES has a cool little cutscene, once the level complete finishes, the Amiga one actually ends the exact same way as all the other versions, where it's the two aliens talking amongst themselves. That Simpson boy has defeated us. We have failed dismally. You have to admire the boy's courage and luck. Luck, please, I knew what I was doing. We must honor our foe. I have an idea, sir. And we get this stupid ending. Bart J. Simpson, intergalactic space hero. Please, they don't even give me the stone heads. Like, what the heck is wrong with them, man? So I will be showing you what the death screen looks like, and I hope I managed to explain everything. It was super fun playing this version again. I hope you get to check out all of the other previous versions or any of the speedruns. Everything's going to be linked in the description below. If I missed anything, I'm sure you'll let me know. I'll be releasing the Atari ST version next. Within the next week and a half, once this video is released. I tried to explain everything, and if I missed anything, I'm sure you guys will let me know. Also, I hope I showed you everything that I ended up not saying with my physical words, if that's a such thing. And with that, hope you guys had fun. Hope to see you next time. And peace out.